lawyer was recently arrested after I'm not usually one who believes in the paranormal, unexplained hocus-pocus like ghouls, goblins, gnomes, ghosts, and birds. But with this situation, I am starting to believe there might be something that science can't explain. 3 days ago, I made that video on Kenneth Copeland, the man whom I believe to be a demon in human skin. He's an outrageously wealthy, corrupt preacher who uses faith to fuck the piggy banks of all of his followers to take as much money from them as possible and hoard it all for himself. And on the same day that I posted that video, this peculiar piece of information drops about an unhinged pastor going on a rant defending rapists who assault women for wearing shorts. It's just an interesting coincidence that that all broke on the same day that I was covering Kenneth Copeland. It's like that phenomenon like in Grand Theft Auto where you see a car you've never seen before, you steal that car, and then all of a sudden you see it everywhere. It's one of those things where I made that video, and it's not like I go out of my way looking for like corrupt preachers or anything like that, but then I saw this happening at the same time. And it's just one of those head-scratching moments like, is this a message from the universe letting me know that it can always be worse? You know, in the words of Qui-Gon Jinn, there's always a bigger fish.
This is the kind of preaching we need. I told my wife, I said, Mama, when we go to Pigeon Forge, to the outlet malls, when you go uptown here.
Goober's out here looking like Kingpin from Into the Spider-Verse. He's got that fucking wide bowling ball build here. His name is Bobby Leonard, and the way he delivers his sermons is a lot like a record constantly skipping a little bit, like he's glitching out constantly, and I have no doubt that's because he's this archaic fossil of a man. And I know that might sound a little harsh, and I'd almost feel bad for insulting this senile geriatric octogenarian, but he's also defending rape, so I really don't feel bad at all. He's a piece of shit.
We'll go sit in the parking lot at the outlet mall, the mall here. I said, you watch it. I said, count them. You'll find more women going to have shorts on than you will with pants and dresses put together.
Oh, say it ain't so. Shorts on as a woman? Those whores. Those harlots. Charlatans. Oh my goodness, Bobby. You're right. What an astute observation. It's so despicable. Wearing shorts as a female? Have some decency, have some class, have some shame. Oh, goodness gracious. So Bobby's sitting in the parking lot just looking at women, I guess. Sounding like a real creepy weirdo here, just sitting in his car looking at all the girls that go into the mall. Probably got some fucking binoculars out spying on them with hand on his meat. And he's just pointing out to his wife, look at this, can you believe it? There's more girls going in there with shorts than there are girls going in there with dresses and pants. Who could have guessed, huh? Heavens to Betsy.
So I sat there, I just want to be sure, but I sat there some time ago for, I don't know who's out in there, I guess it must have been some of the family. My wife don't go shopping down. And I sat there in my car.
What the fuck did you just say there, Bobby? It sounded like he casted an ancient spell. If I popped that sentence into Google Translate, it would destroy the service globally. It'd shut that bitch down because this is incomprehensible. What in the world? He just hit a full-blown scat man in the middle of his sermon. It sounded like Porky Pig.
I thought, I'm gonna see if that's right. And I counted. Try that. You'll find more women go in those places with shorts than you will women with pants and dresses put together. Try it.
Yeah, go ahead, everyone, try it. Land yourself on the sex offenders registry for being some kind of alarming creep in your car just looking at women's bottom half to count if they're wearing shorts versus dresses or pants. Very normal thing to do for a sane individual, Bobby. Great advice. What a remarkable challenge to issue your followers. He is way too fucking old to be speaking in front of people, by the way. He actually talks as if there's just perpetually peanut butter in his mouth and he's struggling to get through the words so that way he could, like, enunciate them. It's brutal listening to him blabbermouth like this.
If you got time, try it. Have your boy go up there and try it. Just watch for it. Have your girl go up there and watch for it. And you know, I used to say this. Now, I haven't said this in a long time. You ready? I said, if you dress like that and you get raped and I'm on the jury, he's going to go free. Now, you don't like, do you? I'm right, though. I can't help you don't like it. I'm right. Because, you know, a man's a man. A man's a man.
Jiminy
Strange.
Christmas. Bobby
Or just did not see the
raping his
value of
hobby,
those photonic
Leonard,
wavelengths
just
until
saying
now.
flat out with his whole chest, if a woman gets raped and he's on the jury and she was wearing shorts, he would let the rapist go free. What an outrageously evil individual you are, Bobby. What chapter of the Bible was this in? I don't remember this excerpt anywhere. When I first read these headlines, I thought it was potentially it being interpreted as a pastor defending rapists, but nope. He just outright says it. He's not beating around the bush. He's not trying to hide anything. He's going full mask off, just saying point blank that if he is on the jury and a woman gets raped and she's wearing shorts, Bobby would let the rapist go free. What a dangerous thought process that is. He just believes that men are going to rape a woman because she's in shorts and that they're justified in doing so. This leads me to so many questions I'd like to ask Bobby on a personal level. For instance, how many women have you sexually assaulted because of their clothing choice, Bobby? That was probably too many words. His brain can't process all of that. Let me break it down in simpler terms. How many women have you raped, Bobby? I feel as though the only people that would ever defend a heinous action such as rape would be a rapist. Like, I don't think you have many rape allies. And meanwhile, Bobby Leonard here, in front of the entire church service, takes time to justify that. So that is really alarming shit. I don't know how this plays into Christianity at all. I don't know why he would say any of this during a sermon. I don't know what he expected to happen. Like, I was with my wife the other day looking at girls going in the mall. They're all wearing shorts and stuff. And you know what? I used to say this. I'm going to say it right now. If a woman's wearing shorts and she gets raped and I'm on the jury, that man's going free. Can I get an amen? Hey, what are all these boos for?
When I was a boy, 85 years ago, 80 years ago, I was raised in Martinsville, Virginia, partly in Moxfield, North Carolina. You never. Listen, I don't even remember women wearing anything but dresses.
So what, you senile worm? It doesn't matter what a woman is wearing, she shouldn't be raped. Rape is bad no matter what. There's no justifying it, you absolute fucking scumbag.
Back then, well, anyway, I don't want you to go home depressed tonight. I'd rather go home encouraged, but I want you to go home wanting to serve God. But it seems that we've paid no. It seems like we've paid no attention to God.
Oh yeah, this is all about God at the end of the day here. Yeah, I'm sure this whole little tangent you're going on is very biblical. You know, the Lord was famous for justifying rape. You know, in fact, it was the 11th commandment that unfortunately Moses just left at the top of the mountain. Thou shalt not rape unless it is a woman wearing shorts. Am I right, Bobby?
Isn't that right? And the Bible says sometime that people think God has delayed his coming, and so as a result of thinking God's delayed his coming, they begin to eat and drink and be drunken. And it seemed like right tonight, if all of our people, everybody comes to our church thought that Jesus was coming Friday night, Saturday morning, you think they'll all be here?
What are you even saying? Are you drunk? Are you overdosing on Xanax? What is going on? There wasn't even a coherent thought in that entire, like, long fucking slurred speech there. That was actually nothing. It was a whole bunch of gobbledygook. There was nothing there. They're just letting anyone be a pastor these days, I guess. It's actually super interesting that the only time he's even lucid, like the only time when he's talking that makes any sense, is when he's saying that if he was on the jury and a woman got raped wearing shorts, the man would go free. That's the only thing he actually said that he didn't stumble his way through the statement of, saying a man's a man, a man's a man, so he would let the rapist go free. Maybe it's because that's the only thing he truly believes out of everything he was spouting during the sermon, so that's the only thing he was able to deliver with conviction, without just like falling and stumbling his way through his statements. It's horrifying. What a fucking sickening individual. Now, he did respond to the backlash, basically just apologizing. He said, "I am sorry for any hurt, I was wrong." So extremely concise, and I feel as though he's not sorry, he just doesn't like all of the negative attention it's brought to him in the church. Also, apparently the way he apologized was by putting it on their sign out front, so like the fucking billboard, "I am sorry for any hurt, I was wrong, Pastor Leonard." Literally has it like a new McDonald's item that they put on those boards out front of McDonald's. That's where he posted his apology for all of it. Again, I don't think he's remorseful even slightly. I think that's what he truly believes. He is a piece of shit. That's really about it. So yeah.
I saw something really gross today that I just need to vent about. There is a pastor in Indiana named John Lowe II, which sounds like a generic NPC name in The Sims, and he went on stage in front of the congregation to admit to committing adultery 20 years ago, and received a standing ovation for his honesty. The crowd was cheering as if it was E3 and their favorite video game just had a sequel announced. A massive, uproarious round of applause, all because this guy publicly admitted to cheating on his wife. And then it wasn't until the person that he had the affair with came on stage they realized, maybe this isn't something to be happy about, because the victim was a 16-year-old girl that he molested and sexually abused at the church.
In case you don't know, I'm Pastor John Lowe, and
I already hate this shit. Pastors are worshipped more than Jesus, it feels like. I have absolutely no problem with religion or anything like that. As most of you know, I was an extremely religious youth. I got baptized twice just because I was afraid God might have missed the first one. And while I may not be religious anymore, I do still get it. But what I've never understood is why pastors themselves are treated like gods by the people that go to church. It's super counterintuitive. It goes against everything the Bible teaches. The people are there more to worship and suck the dick of the pastor than they are to like give thanks and praise Jesus. And it happens all the time, especially with pastors like Kenneth Copeland and Peter Popoff. They'll just blatantly say, "We need you to give us all of your money because we require another jet to preach the good word of the Lord." And people will happily just give up their family's entire earnings to the church, to the pastors directly, to support that greed. Just actual evil assholes. I'm getting carried away, but you can see it right away here, where they're just like shouting and cheering because this guy said his own name. Dude's up there to publicly confess to an actual fucking crime, and he still can't help but get cheered on like he's a rock star for it.
I committed adultery. It was nearly 20 years ago. It continued far too long. It involved one person, and there's been no other, nor any other situation of unbecoming conduct for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I highly doubt that last part from the confession where he says this is the only person it happened with. I imagine he's probably done this to multiple other victims, just a little sneaking suspicion. He's doing his best to tiptoe around the details here because he doesn't want to reveal that the victim was underage and how fucked up it all was. So he's being very careful with the way he describes the adultery.
While applying church discipline for sexual failure, for repentance, confession, and restoration, I myself had not been disciplined for sexual misconduct. I will not use the Bible to defend myself or to beat you into scriptural submission.
I'm not gonna lie, this part actually shocked me here, him saying that he's not gonna use the Bible to defend himself. That's like the number one thing the Bible has been used for hundreds of years, to defend some awful shit because of a disgusting interpretation of what the Bible says. And what's even more shocking is the way that he describes the Bible here makes it sound like it's a chair in the WWE. He says, I'm not gonna beat you into scriptural submission. Bruh, it sounds like some kind of promo material that Hulk Hogan would have said. Hey brother, I'm gonna use the Bible to lay the smackdown on you at the upcoming WrestleMania Raw.
Meanwhile, I hope you believe God called you here. Meanwhile, I hope you believe that God called you here, perhaps for such a time as this. Amen. To believe, to forgive, to heal, so that God can reveal His goodness to you.
Man, what the fuck are you talking about? I certainly hope there'd never come a time where the Lord calls me into church specifically to listen to some bumbling goober confess to molesting a 16-year-old girl. Why would he want me to be there for that? Why would he want any of these people to go to church to listen to that? Because I know it wouldn't be for forgiveness. No shot. Absolutely not. And what makes me really infuriated here, and I guess I can't really blame the people, it's not their fault, but them just like agreeing with him saying amen as if he's making a good point. When he's saying, I hope you believe God called you here for a time such as this, so that way we can heal, forgive, and you might see His goodness. Phrasing it in a way where it's like, if you forgive me for my actions, then the Lord might be really nice to you in return. Can I get an amen, huh? You want a shiny new car? Well, you might want to forgive me for this crime. You know, the Lord might provide.
I've committed to the Lord, and now to you, that I will submit to the process and recommendations of this board.
Yeah, a standing ovation for that. Amazing. There was a couple people, like, you could hear kind of cheering lightly throughout the thing, which is weird too. Like, fucking pumping their fists like, oh my god, the pastor's fucking and it's not his wife. Whee! Yeah! Absolute wild and wackiness. They're treating it as if it's like a little fucking Super Bowl kind of event. But let me warn you, what you're about to hear next is pretty heavy and hard to listen to. The victim herself comes forward to actually paint the picture of what happened that the pastor was leaving out. And she says this to the people that were just giving a massive round of applause and standing ovation to the guy.
I lived in a prison of lies and shame. Lying to protect the Lowe family. For years I thought I was a horrible person having suicidal thoughts, not realizing what had been truly done to me. I'm a prisoner no longer. I was just 16 when you took my virginity on your office floor. Do you remember that? I know you do, and I have plenty of other stories that I could bring to remembrance.
She describes in detail the actual nature of the adultery that he was so desperately trying to dodge. He was trying to, like, do his best to avoid every possible raindrop of detail surrounding this, but now she's the storm that's come through and has revealed all of it to the people that were just cheering for this evil man. So, I don't want to play too much of it here because, like I said, it is hard to listen to. She says it started when she was 16, and there were witnesses and people that knew what was happening, but when she tried to talk about it, all that was done was that it was covered up.
If you did it, you need to admit it. That's right. 100%.
I told you I committed adultery. I told you it went on far too long.
Did you do it? That's all we need to know.
Yes, we did.
You didn't tell them she was 14 years old.
No, at 16.
Now the crowd's turned on him with the pitchforks out and looking for a biblical beatdown of their own for this guy. And this comes because the woman, the victim, came forward with a lot of information about what happened, as well as her partner coming forward with additional information that they revealed in front of the entire congregation publicly. And now the crowd that was just cheering for him is no longer super thrilled about it. Adultery, I guess, was totally fine. They were okay with adultery and long-term adultery. But now that they've learned that it was against an underage minor, well, that's changed the whole narrative. I think both are bad. Obviously, it's worse that it's with a kid, but I don't think there was still any world where they should have been cheering for the guy who just admitted to cheating on his wife for so long. It's still fucked up. I am glad, though, that they at least somewhat came to their senses like, Jesus, this is bad, this shit is not good.
Saddle up.
It's not all true, but that did happen, yes. And all I can do is ask you to forgive me, and I'm doing what the Bible process or biblical process is in the church. I'm stepping down, stepping aside.
For everything that we have done wrong in our lives. They kill us all.
And then once again, I was disappointed by the people here when they went up to give this guy a hug during their prayers. I'm just gonna say it, I don't think there's any power in forgiving someone like that man. That guy is a fucking monster. This went on for years, and it started when she was underage, and it was covered up. There's no power, and there's nothing righteous about forgiving an actual piece of shit like that. So the fact that after they learned all this information, after everything that was talked about during the service from the victim as well as her partner, after all of that, they still go up there and embrace him and seemingly forgive him, I guess, if the body language is anything to go off of. Just a horde of people go up there to give a giant group hug in the showers here, all up there huddled around each other like they're trying to recover a fucking fumble in football. All around that guy, who is a bad guy, and doesn't deserve the forgiveness. Anyway, this video just made me upset. I wanted to talk about it, and that's really about it. So yeah. I was going to include all this shit in yesterday's video I did about the coronavirus, but I felt the way evangelists have been responding to coronavirus is totally different from how the normal people have been. Normal people aren't, out there maliciously buying toilet paper and hoarding it just to be assholes. They're panicking, they're afraid, so they're hoarding toilet paper like it's gold. They think the world's gonna turn into a fucking Fallout New Vegas where they're gonna be using toilet paper for currency instead of bottle caps. It's just them being afraid. Whereas the only thing some of these evangelists are afraid of is missing out on a fat paycheck. Let me make this clear, I have no problem with people of faith. That's not what this is about. I have a problem with these evangelists preying on people's fear. Saying shit like, if you buy this Christian gospel rock album, it'll set up a spiritual barrier around your house protecting you from the coronavirus. There's just been a whole bunch of this shit going on right now that I'd like to show you a bit of. Asking an evangelist to help with coronavirus is like asking your high school bully to help with your confidence and self-esteem. It makes no fucking sense. So we'll start here with Pastor Jim Bakker, who's out here peddling a silver solution as a corona cure. I also have no doubt that it's not even silver solution, it's probably just a bottle of his own urine. Also, they call him a pioneer of Christian television, and yet this shit broadcasts in like 144p and they still sell all their shit on VHS tapes. A real pioneer, real innovator. Can't wait to see what Jim Bakker's gonna do next. He might take Christian television all the way to a CD.
This influenza that is now circling the globe, you're saying that silver solution would be effective?
Well, let's say it hasn't been tested on this strain of the coronavirus, but it's been tested on other strains of the coronavirus and has been able to eliminate it within 12 hours.
Yeah.
Totally eliminate it, kills it, deactivates it.
Yeah.
And then it boosts your immune system, so then you can support the recovery, because when you kill the virus, then the immune system comes into action to clear it out. So you want a vibrant immune system as well as an ability to deactivate these viruses. That's so good.
Yeah, so these octogenarians hype up the silver solution like it's a goddamn panacea. This is just the stupidest shit. This is like me going on TV and saying, hey look, I have Phoenix Downs. They worked in Final Fantasy to revive people. They can bring people back from the dead in the real world too, I'm sure. They were selling these for around $125, and enough people bought them to have it become a big deal, and now they're being sued as a result of this, which is great news. I think that's fantastic, but it's sad to know that there are people out there chugging bottles of silver solution as a result of this. They're probably doing shoeies of silver solution, fucking shotgunning it like frat boys with silver solution. I'm sure you already knew Kenneth Copeland was going to be in here, the world's most famous asshole evangelist.
Got in the plane that God so graciously gave us, we're flying home. As I was going home, the Lord, real quickly, he said, Jesse, do you like your plane?
This is a conversation between Kenneth Copeland and his co-host Jesse where they're defending their private jets because people started to call them out on, you know, we're giving you this money and you're buying private jets, so they defend it, and it's some pretty despicable shit, honestly. I half expected him to start passing around his PayPal information and tell people that he started a fundraiser because the Lord said he needs more money for a bigger yacht.
The world is in such a shape, we can't get there without it. That's right. You've got to have it. You can't manage that today. Right. This dope-filled world. Right. You get in a long tube with a bunch of demons. Right. That's exactly. And it's deadly. We're in soul business here. Right.
This is what everyone knows Kenneth Copeland for. Him saying getting on a public airline is like getting on a long tube with a bunch of demons. Also, this man is the most demon-looking motherfucker on the planet. This guy looks downright evil. This is what I imagine Satan looks like in hell. But not only does he look and sound like he rules in hell, he fucking acts like it too.
Again, getting back to the comment. You said that you don't like to fly commercial because you don't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. Do you really believe that human beings are demons?
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but principalities and powers.
A brief glimpse of the hellfire and wrath beneath that mask. Pretty deplorable shit, but this has nothing to do with what he's doing with coronavirus. I just wanted to bring everyone up to speed, or just give you a refresher on the Kenneth Copeland lore from the old manga, I suppose. Here's the coronavirus shit.
Put your hand on that television set.
Yes, Lord.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, Jesus.
Sounds like the world's worst ASMR. I also don't know what his hand is covered in, the old sacred semen there, so it looks like he just dipped it into some candle wax.
Thank you, Lord Jesus. He received your healing.
Yes.
Now. Say it, I take it. I have it. It's mine.
It's mine.
This whole segment here reminds me of Squidward when he goes to be all alone and you keep hearing
In horrible circumstances, Laura, police say she poured a flammable liquid over a man and set him alight.
Guys, we have talked about a lot of different people on the internet, you know, influencers, YouTubers, streamers, whatever they might be, doing a lot of different real bad shit. But I feel like a lot of the times that bad shit is kind of like more so bad in the space of being an influencer or being a content creator than it is just kind of like bad in general. Today, unfortunately, we are talking about something that a YouTuber has done that is genuinely the worst thing I have ever talked about anybody doing on this channel, period. It's not going to be a fun video. This is not a joke. This is not where like it's going to be the worst thing ever and then it's just like somebody making a bad recipe or something. This one's a bit of a tough one, but I feel like it's important to talk about stuff like this because you never know who might be supporting people like this without even realizing what they might be contributing to. YouTube drama is sort of like a weird double-edged sword, and I say that because I feel like most things that are categorized as YouTube or really just like internet drama in general are things that if they happened in, you know, like real life, I guess, for lack of a better way to explain it, most people would not give a shit. You know, things that end up being talked about on the internet and labeled as drama are just not the same things that get that sort of treatment in real life. At least not to the extent where millions of people are talking about something that the average person would hear about a coworker or a friend and not really think twice about. And that's why it feels like this weird double-edged sword, because these things that nobody would care about outside of like the scope of the internet end up being blown up into these massive controversies, while things that are actually important and have real-world consequences never really seem to get that same treatment. And I feel like that's kind of evidenced by what we're talking about today and the fact that, at least as of recording this, I haven't seen anybody talking about this, and I feel like this genuinely might be the worst thing a YouTuber has ever done. And I'm not saying that as a joke. I'm not saying that to exaggerate what we're talking about today to get you to stick around. it is really just that fucking bad. There is a YouTuber who seems to be like an indie game developer and maybe also like a music producer from what I can gather. Most of their content seems to revolve around Mario and a game they've made involving Mario named Corpse Syndrome, aka Jessica Cruz Guzman, a 29-year-old woman in real life. And about a week ago, she was arrested after she allegedly poured rubbing alcohol all over a man and set him on fire. The man was a 44-year-old named Stuart Blair, and he later died from his injuries that day. This fire spread and it burnt down the house they were in, injuring a second man, a 46-year-old named Michael Slater, and 2 other people inside the house at the time, including a 43-year-old woman and an 11-year-old girl. Making this, at least from the stuff I've seen, one of, if not just the worst thing I've ever heard of a YouTuber doing. Now, I heard about all this from the YouTube drama subreddit, and in the post that talked about this, there is a Google Doc. Now, I'm not going to be going through any of it because from what I can tell, it's like all secondhand stuff. You know, it seems to be somebody recounting what they were told by authorities because for some reason they were involved enough to where they were told about it, but I don't really want to be spreading anything that has not been officially reported, so we're going to keep it to the stuff that has come through the news outlets. What's being reported right now is that on December 18th of last year, Jessica and Stuart got into some sort of verbal disagreement, which led to Jessica covering Stuart in some sort of flammable liquid. Some news articles are saying rubbing alcohol, some are saying flammable liquid. I feel like rubbing alcohol is a pretty safe bet, but I guess that's not technically confirmed right now, and this was followed by Jessica lighting Stuart on fire. Now, this resulted in the share house they were inside of catching on fire, and this is an Australian thing. I'm pretty sure a share house just like means you have roommates. If I'm wrong, please correct me, but that's what it seems like to me. But like I said, the fire spread and another man who was inside the house at the time was caught on fire. As of right now, I believe he's in stable condition, but was described as being badly burnt. Jessica herself was burnt as well, and there was a woman, a young girl, and a service dog that apparently escaped, and nothing mentions them being injured, so I'm going to assume that at least physically they're okay. As a result of this, Jessica has been hit with multiple charges. I think as of right now, she's currently facing 9 different charges, with one of them being murder. On top of that, she's also facing an attempted murder charge, who I presume is for the other man caught on fire. Other charges include intentional destruction by fire and reckless endangerment. Now, right now, there's nothing being reported as to what may have caused this, you know, what led to this happening. One of the articles mentions that neighbors heard a fight going on outside of the house before all this went down, so, you know, you'd think it would probably have something to do with that, but right now, there's really no, like, hard, fine details. What is known, though, is that the man who passed away, Stuart Blair, was a father of 3, and because of this lady's evil actions, 3 children are left without a father, and it's just horrific. It's fucking tragic. I can't imagine what these families are going through right now. I mean, just the display of complete and total disregard for life here is absurd. Not only have you murdered a person, you did so by essentially setting a house on fire that had multiple other people inside of it, including children, that had nothing to do with your quarrel. I mean, this is the kind of person who needs to be locked away for life, and based off the way all of this has been reported, it seems like the situation looks pretty cut and dry. I believe they're waiting on a statement from the man in the hospital, you know, waiting until he recovers, but I can't really see this ending with any other outcome. Australia gives out life sentences for murder, so, you know, unless there's something that's not being reported, you know, something that changes this entire situation, kind of flips it onto its head, I'm sure Jessica will be locked up for a very, very long time. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the YouTube aspect of this lady's life seemed to be sort of confined to this, like, Mario game she had made. It's called Mario the Music Box, and apparently it's a relatively popular game. All the songs and update videos have, like, hundreds of thousands of views on her channel. It has its own little community and everything. I mean, the Discord for the developers has, like, 5,000 members, and from what I can tell, this is the only game they've ever made. And this is just one of those things where it's a bit of a haunting reminder that you never know who you're following, you never know who you're supporting. You know, when it comes to being a part of these online communities, you've always really just got to keep in mind that you don't really know the people behind the screen. Now, obviously, this is an unbelievably extreme example. I'm not trying to, like, extrapolate this to everything, but it's just something to think about, you know? Typically, I don't think most people would hear about a person who makes Mario fan games and think that person is capable of an extreme extremely graphic murder. And that's just kind of one of the weaknesses of us as people. You know, we generalize and we're short-sighted, and we think that because of the way a person presents themselves on the internet, that they would never do certain things or that they behave a certain way in real life. Obviously, again, this is an extreme example. I'm not trying to make this video about that, but it is just something to kind of keep in mind. Anyways, as of right now, it looks like prosecutors are sort of just in the stage of collecting all the evidence. Apparently they're reviewing CCTV footage, interviewing neighbors, like I said, waiting on that statement from the other man who was injured. And as of right now, Jessica's next court appearance is scheduled for sometime in May. And I really hope, for the sake of the families and really just anybody involved in this, that justice is served quickly and it is served fully. I mean, like I said, I really do think this is the worst thing we've ever talked about somebody doing on this channel. To rob somebody of their life, to rob children of their parents, and to do it in such a cruel way, it's horrific. You know, this is a genuine tragedy, and I hope that every aspect of this manages to work itself out in, you know, the best way that something like this really can. Well, guys, what are your thoughts? Like I said, I really do think this is kind of the worst of the worst. Not that it's like a fucking competition or anything, but, you know, it's real hard to imagine what these people are going through right now. As a person who lost their dad when they were younger, you know, it's real hard to lose a parent when you don't feel like you're supposed to, if that makes sense. And for it to be in like a manner like this, you know, it's just unimaginable. You know, like I said, I really do hope that this goes as swiftly as possible, that justice is served as it should be. My heart goes out to the families and the people affected by this. And again, I hope everything works out in the best way that anything involving something like this can work out, you know? So yeah.
Good morning, traveler. You're looking awfully well rested. I'm jealous. Wish I could say the same. I missed out on shut-eye again for the millionth time over the last 12 months. I tell you, that insomnia's powerful spell. Got me in the nipple clamps. But it's not about me. I'm not here to just trauma dump on you. What say you to listening to me regale a riveting story? Have you heard of the High Elves? Every one of them dirty bastards done started an OnlyFans. Point I'm making, OnlyFans is everywhere now. If you open your mouth to take a breath, the first thing that gets into your lungs is not oxygen, it's fucking OnlyFans.
Just got home, just got off work. We're thinking it's an animal, and he said, no, my name's Robert. Oh, there's a dude in my room.
I've lived in Florida my whole life. I've seen things that you'd only read about in fairy tales. I could tell you stories that you would swear were false. I knew a guy in college who used to ask to lick people's shoes on the streets, the bottom of their shoes on the street, for his own sexual gratification, I imagine. I don't know if it was sexual, it's my theory, but he used to love licking shoes, and he became known as the Ybor shoe licker. Ybor being the area that he resides in. Point is, I'm getting lost in the lore of the Florida comic book superheroes. The point is, these eyes have laid upon things that could traumatize even the most grizzled of Navy SEALs. And yet still I'm surprised by some of the things that happen in Florida. Today I watched a news story that I can't make heads or tails of. I don't know who's in the right and who's in the wrong here, you know, so I just wanted to share it with all of you because it's starting to convince me that Florida is not even a real place. It's just like a giant sketch comedy section, like a quarantine zone of bad sketches gone wrong.
Well, I went to jail. They come arrested me last Thursday. They were here.
I lose them to animals, but I was not expecting them to lose them to my neighbor. That was like my friend.
So those are the main characters here. I'll give you a quick backstory. So they're neighbors, and one of them killed the other's rooster. Now, the guy's claiming it was done in self-defense because the rooster was extremely aggressive, and he's facing potentially up to like 5 years in jail for animal cruelty. He already spent like 30 hours in jail for this. The other guy's claiming he did it just maliciously to kill the rooster. And we're about to get a lot of exposition here, so get ready.
I didn't know to give it a 21 gun salute. CPR? Mouth to mouth? You know, or call the chicken ambulance?
Big Roo was Jason Day Felice's pet rooster. That is, until James Nix hit it with a stick.
Now, like a game of Clue, we have the murder weapon and the location of the murder. But we don't know the circumstances as to why. We know James is responsible for the execution of Big Roo, but we don't know the motive. We also know James sounds like Larry the Cable Guy, but that might not be good evidence for us. We get James's side of the story here, and the way he tells this war story makes it sound like Big Roo was the raid boss of this trailer park. He makes it sound like, you know, Big Roo was coming around the block to shake James down for his lunch money, and James panicked and in self-defense hit it with a stick, which unfortunately killed the rooster. He didn't mean to kill it, he just wanted to get it away from him, but it unfortunately led to the demise of Big Roo. He then says that he didn't do CPR or mouth-to-mouth or call the chicken ambulance, saying that he didn't know what to do, kind of panicking about it, which I don't think is going to help James's case here since he just left the body in a ditch. He could have absolutely called the chicken ambulance. I mean, we all know that hotline number, you know, like the Ghostbusters, who are you gonna call? Chicken ambulance. But he didn't do even that, so he hit it with a stick and then left it, which is sad. And I do know from personal experience, roosters can be some real aggressive sons of bitches, that's for fucking sure. I remember being a little kid and like a school field trip took us to a petting zoo. Bro, those roosters will come at you with a head of steam sometime, looking to take your fucking heart out. So I have no doubt that there probably was an element of self-defense here, but I don't blame the rooster or anything. I blame the owner. He was being kept as a pet, and the owner clearly does nothing to like monitor it or keep it on a leash. Though I don't know if you're like supposed to keep roosters on a leash and walk them or something. That I'm not familiar with. But like at least keep them from like just wandering in neighbors' yards and you know, being let loose. The owner just didn't do anything to protect his pet and just let it wander the entire neighborhood, which gets brought up here in a minute.
So I'm defending myself. You know, I was feared for my safety, and the chicken, you know, died.
Nick says the rooster attacked people.
I have not heard that, because I know the neighbor here, I know him. Like, we're friends. He never said anything to me about it.
I did tell him, after the chicken hit my dad, I said, hey man, the chicken attacked my dad. What's the deal? It's just a chicken. What's he gonna do? You know, okay, well, look.
Now James pulls out the receipts here. He's got the photos to prove it. Man was using that Dell laptop to print these bad boys out specifically for the interview, showing that the chicken does have a history of attacking. So he's saying that his father was a victim of the Big Roo, and you can see some of the scars here. So Big Roo was terrorizing this area, though Jason disagrees, saying that no one ever said that, including James. And truthfully, I just don't know who to believe here, because it's very possible James could have just printed off any photos of a leg injury and claimed it was Big Roo that did it to try and establish a history of violence, to try and justify the self-defense with the stick. And I'd like to see the stick that struck down Big Roo, because that's got to be the biggest stick in all of Florida. Like a goddamn mahogany tree trunk, or like a caveman's club. To take out Big Roo in a single strike, that thing must have been the weight of Thor's hammer.
The neighbors even disagree on how others saw Big Roo.
The kids that used to live over there, they were throwing rocks and sticks at this chicken to keep it away.
I know the kids down here, they played with the rooster a little bit, like would throw rocks at it and chase it.
So one
Jason, that's not playing with the rooster. That's being afraid of it and trying to get it the fuck away from them. Who plays by throwing rocks at each other? Hey, Bill, come on over here. Let's play this fun game of being stoned to death. It's great. Like, again, it's hard to know who's in the right and who's in the wrong here, but I am leaning more on the side of James did this as an accident in self-defense. Jason's attitude is pretty douchey, and he does not understand what playing is. Oh yeah, that James is a real jerk. He's a no good liar. Everyone in the neighborhood loved Big Roo. The kids would throw rocks at him, run away screaming and crying. It was so much fun, and I know they're going to be really upset to learn the news here. Also, I think Jason does bear a big fault because he's the pet owner, and he did nothing to, you know, monitor the pet, just leaving it completely open to roam the area. Clearly, even he's not defending that. He's talking about how, like, the neighborhood kids would throw rocks, so clearly there's a history of Jason just letting the rooster wander around completely unsupervised, which is very irresponsible.
One day, when Nick says the rooster followed him and attacked him,
His neck flares up, and he's doing his thing, and he's trying to jump up at me.
he was trying to get the animal away.
This makes total sense to me because if there was a big rooster coming at me and it started busting out the Squidward dance, I'd probably panic too and try and flee, or, you know, flight or fight response would kick in. You know, it'd be a real mess. Again, the way James tells this story just seems a lot more genuine than the way Jason tells it, but it's just so hard to know for sure. But I also think it would have made a lot of sense if James truly did this in self-defense, to go to Jason and be like, look man, you know we all love Big Roo, and unfortunately something tragic just happened, and then explained it to him. I feel like it wouldn't have got this far, but it seems like he just left the rooster's corpse outside, just like rotting outside. So, which means that Jason now doesn't trust James' story because James made no attempt to, like, communicate what actually happened to Jason, I guess. This is just, there's so many fucking plot lines going on here. I feel like I'm trying to dissect Evangelion. It's just so many moving parts.
And I tried to hit it, but the chicken's jumping up at me, and I accidentally knocked it in the head. You know, call it a lucky shot, whatever.
But when Dave Felice came home, all he saw was his rooster dead in a ditch.
You see what I mean? Leaving the body out there was just a bad move from James because it immediately makes Jason question what the fuck happened and why. It makes it seem like James just killed his rooster in cold blood and left it outside like a trophy or a warning to other roosters, like Vlad the Impaler, putting the goddamn Big Roo on a pike. It's just there could have been a much more efficient way of handling this, just like more communication, like, Jason, you stupid imbecile. You again left Big Roo unsupervised and it tried to attack me, and I accidentally hit it in the head, and unfortunately it went right to Valhalla. You know, like, they could have talked it out. They both shoulder a lot of blame here, but I really do think Jason's intentions were self-defense. Roosters, again, from what I understand, can be very aggressive. Jason openly states, yes, this rooster just wandered around this entire area. Neighborhood kids threw rocks. The other neighbors over here, you know, knew the rooster. You know, so clearly there's just a lot of problems in general with what happened here. And it's a sad story, but one that I find so fascinating.
I said I'm calling JSO. I called JSO. JSO didn't do nothing. Then a couple days later, I realized I could call animal control.
And in late June, James Nix went to jail for animal cruelty.
Next thing you know, he calls the chicken police on me.
That's the last organization you want to visit from. The chicken police are no-nonsense, ruthless, strictly business, merciless, and they will fuck you up. You know, God have mercy on the soul of someone who gets a visit from the chicken police.
While the neighbors continue the fight, Nick says he never should have been arrested.
Chickens are dying every day, people, at churches, Popeyes, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Really?
He's not wrong, but it's not a great comparison either, because it's not like those chickens are being hit with a stick in the back of the restaurant. They were factory farmed. This was a guy's pet. Again, I think both people are at fault here, but I just don't know who's more in the wrong. I don't know if it's necessarily animal cruelty if it was done in self-defense. Like a rooster, I mean, they could hurt you, right? Like, it's not like they're completely unable to do damage to human beings. People get attacked by chickens and it causes damage. Usually not life-threatening or anything, but you still don't want to just be attacked by a random animal just on your way home. Again, Jason shouldn't just let his roosters wander around and, you know, rampage this whole neighborhood. And James should have done more to tell Jason what happened. You know, that it was an accident, that Big Roo attacked him. So, again, just a wild story, and Florida is just so full of wackiness, I couldn't help but just bring this one up. That's about it. So yeah. Do you know this man? He may look like a default character in a Warhammer 40k Space Marine game, but he's very real and has become a very real boogeyman to the music industry. He was recently arrested on a series of charges, and they're basically treating this guy like Cobra Commander for what he's done. He stole directly from music distributors, and The way that he was able to do this, make off with upwards of $10 million in royalties over the course of 7 years, is through a really interesting scheme that I imagine a lot of others are doing behind the scenes, and it's something the music industry themselves also does in broad daylight. But he got slapped hard for it. So what he did is he created a lot of AI songs and flooded streaming platforms with them, and then had tens of thousands of bot accounts perpetually streaming those songs that he owned, and he would collect royalties from all of those botted stream numbers. His name is Michael Smith. Even his name sounds AI generated. But you want to know what AI could never generate? Goof juice. It's the best flavor ever made. It's actually perfection, and AI can't do that. Also, GamerSupps right now is having a big special where you can get free shipping to anywhere in the world using code MOIST. So pick up some goof juice, best flavor ever, gamersupps.gg/moist. And he's getting his ass spread open here by the FBI now. So the FBI assistant director said, the defendant's alleged scheme played upon the integrity of the music industry by a concerted attempt to circumvent the streaming platform's policy. I love how they just unironically said the integrity of the music industry. What integrity? What kind of fucking laughable joke is that? No such thing. And like I mentioned at the beginning, the music industry is guilty of botting numbers as well. But that's different. It's totally epic when the music industry does it for themselves. That's just swag style business, baby. The FBI remains dedicated to plucking out those who manipulate advanced technologies to receive illicit profits and infringe on the genuine artistic talents of others. As alleged, Michael Smith fraudulently streams songs created with artificial intelligence billions of times in order to steal royalties. Through his brazen fraud scheme, Smith stole millions in royalties that should have been paid to musicians, songwriters, and other rights holders whose songs were legitimately streamed. Today, thanks to the work of the FBI and the career prosecutors of his office, it's time for Smith to face the music. You know, the guy that said that had the biggest fucking smirk on his face. That was his mic drop moment where he put the sunglasses on. I also couldn't help but actually scoff when they said, with a straight face, that he took money away from the artists that would have been paid through these streaming platforms. Brother, look around. The musicians make the littlest piece of that pie. The actual entities that make the lion's share of the money through streaming platforms for music are distributors, publishers, and labels. The actual creative, the artist behind the work, they get the tiniest cut of that cake. They get a urinal cake more than anything. They just get served little dog shits on a plate. They don't see most of that money in the first place. As someone who uses Spotify for our music project, The Gentle Min, I can tell you firsthand, the Spotify royalties for the artist, 2 thumbs way down. Boo, 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 big boo, throw tomatoes. The main people hurt by his scheme were the AI-generated zombies that run the music industry. The music industry was the one that was directly affected the most. I do think there is an argument and a strong case to be made that because he was pumping so many streams to his songs, he was taking some of that marketing, like advertisement money, away from other artists because those ads were instead getting played on his streams that weren't real. So I do think he did end up taking some money away from some of the other artists on the platform, but the main people that were affected was just the music industry directly. He's not like a hero or anything, but it's hard to feel sympathy for the victim here because of how corrupt the music industry is. Now, the way he did this, I think, is pretty interesting, and it's something that I think a lot of other people are doing to a lesser scale than Smith was. So to carry out the scheme, he created thousands of bot accounts on music streaming platforms, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and then used software to make the accounts constantly stream the songs he owned. Smith estimated that he could generate 661,000 streams per day, which would get him 1.2 million a year, but he wanted to avoid streaming it all to a single song because he recognized that that would be pretty suspicious and would probably get the kibosh put on his operation pretty quick. They'd find it. So he then identified the need for thousands of songs that he could pump these fraudulent streams into because it would keep the number low enough because it'd be spreading the 660,000 streams a day across thousands of songs, so it wouldn't really be setting off anyone's alarm bells. But if all of it filtered into just 1 or 2 songs, you know, you got
Now that's what I call butthole 28, you know, getting 660,000 streams per day. Someone's going to notice and start to piece together that, something's a little fishy here. So that's when he turned to some co-conspirators about needing to get a ton of songs fast. And there's nothing faster than AI. What I find really surprising though is that this is in 2018, so this is very primitive AI, and he contacted a chief executive officer of an AI music company, and together they generated hundreds of thousands of songs for this. The names that the AI spit out were pretty trash except for one, Calm Baseball. That name bangs. That right there, I could see that name in lights. Calm Baseball, now performing at Madison Square Garden. Like someone's gotta take that. It's too good to just let wither and die, to fade away. But that's the strategy in a nutshell. So he created tons of fake artists, tons of fake music, and tons of fake streams, and collected a lot in royalties from it. Now, I think there is a ton of people doing this. I think there are a lot of people that aren't flying as close to the sun as Michael Smith did with over $10 million that they're raking in. Michael Smith was going fast and loose here, going hog wild with the amount of money he was making from this, but I think there are a large number of people that are doing this exact thing with smaller numbers. Because Michael Smith would have never been caught if he didn't make so much from it. And I'm sure every single one of you watching this, if you use Spotify, you've stumbled across one of these AI cesspools, like this fucking latrine of AI generated music, and some of it's got hundreds and thousands of listens to it. I think those accounts are doing exactly what Michael Smith did, but instead of making off like Scrooge McDuck with 1.2 million a year, they're probably doing something smaller like $100,000 or $200,000 a year through this same technique in order to stay invisible to the upper echelon of the music industry. That's my guess, and if I'm wrong about that, I don't think I will be for long, because now that this story has blown up, I think there are going to be tons of copycats that are going to do this exact same thing. Bots have become so prevalent. I know this gets tossed around all the time with like dead internet theory and all of that, but unironically, the data has shown more often than not, the people you interact with aren't people at all. They're not blood, flesh, cringe, and cum. They are bots. And a lot of the things and content you consume doesn't even come from humans either. It comes from bots. So it's one of those things where if it's not already happening in a big way on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, all that, it's going to very soon. Now, in the case of Michael Smith, he's being charged with wire fraud conspiracy, wire fraud and money laundering conspiracy, and could face a maximum of 20 years in prison per count. And I've got a hunch that the music industry is going to do everything in their power to make an example out of Michael Smith to try and scare people away from emulating what he's done. I think they're going to throw the book at him to make it a deterrent from copycats. Because if more and more people start doing what Michael Smith was, the music industry is going to be in some deep doo-doo. It's a very hard thing for them to combat against. Like, look at how long Michael Smith got away with it. And again, the only reason he got caught is just because of how much money he was pulling in. But if people stay at lower amounts that they're making from it, I don't think they have the ability to find all of them. So I think they're very scared of this becoming a bigger problem for them, and I think they're going to do everything in their power to fuck Michael Smith. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. That's it. See ya.
If someone told me I could get 100,000 views on my YouTube video and it would only cost me 7 years of my life spent in prison eating gruel off of the floor, I'd say sign me the fuck up, baby. What a deal. Prison is temporary. Clout is forever. And so is a criminal record, I suppose, but it doesn't matter, because internet updoots are all that really matter these days. This dream came true for a YouTube couple named Saucy and Honey. They were recently arrested and charged with third-degree criminal trespassing and conspiracy and could face up to 7 years in the slammer, all for those sweet, juicy YouTube views. They pulled off the most epic prank this world's ever seen, and the history books will remember them for it. They'll be talked about like Jesus Christ was in the Bible, the Savior, of high quality YouTube content. They did a 24 hours in Target challenge or prank. You know that trend that every 16-year-old was doing on YouTube back in 2017? Yeah, they did that like 4 days ago. I don't know why they chose this prank. It died like 5 years ago. They're very tardy to the party, but they seem to desperately try and suckle any amount of dust they can out of the dry titties of this garbage-ass trend from a time long since forgotten. And they're paying the price for it. They got fucked in the ass. But you can't help but feel bad for them because they clearly have a disease. It's called terminal clout hunger, and unfortunately it's a plague, and it's been spreading for quite some time on the internet now.
Get okay, what's up, that's Nature Fire? And your girl Honey, my baby. Okay, you guys, sorry we're rushing through this intro, but it's 9:37 at... Oh. Okay, you guys, sorry we're rushing through this intro. It is 9:37. It is 9:37 at night.
Honestly, they should have slapped on an additional criminal charge for how dog shit their videos are. I swear to God, it's gotta be a human rights violation to have an intro this annoying. All of their videos start like this. It is painful. Sticking my head in a fucking dump truck while it's compacting garbage would be less miserable.
A YouTube couple is in hot water over this video, in which they claim to have spent the night in a Pennsylvania Target.
You guys, do not attempt what we attempt at home. We are entertainers.
Listen here, goofballs, don't try what we're about to do at home, you dumb assholes. We're professional entertainers willing to risk life and limb for your entertainment. Immediately gets arrested, faces 7 years in jail for this shit. I don't know what she was thinking. This isn't exactly like a defense, right? It's still a crime no matter what. Just because you consider yourself an entertainer doesn't mean that you're all of a sudden immune to repercussions of a crime. Isn't it like if a birthday party clown robbed a bank and when they caught him red-handed, he just honked his nose? Honk. Oh God, he's an entertainer. Never mind, guys. It's all good now. We made a mistake here. I don't understand why more people don't know this, but I'll go ahead and peel back the curtain. Most of those YouTube pranksters are fake. In fact, I'd say 95%. So all of the ones that did the overnight challenges, they cleared it with their local store in order to ensure that they were allowed to do it. And they didn't actually even spend 24 hours in the facilities they said they did. They just stay for long enough to get footage and then leave. But all of it was cleared beforehand with the franchise owner.
Surveillance video from inside the store shows them wandering around various sections while recording video of themselves. While LaRose and Fisher told viewers that they spent the night in Target, police say they left through an emergency exit around 3 a.m. and tripped the alarm. But the couple returned to the store when it opened to the public to resume recording their video.
What? They lied? They didn't actually spend 24 hours in the Target? What the fuck? That's gotta be the worst offense of all. You know, I could excuse the criminal trespassing and all that. I could even excuse the abominable intro to their videos, but the fact that you're gonna come in here and tell me you spent 24 hours in Target when you only spent like, what, 2.5? Oh my God. I spit on that absolute garbage. They could have at least had the courtesy to spend the whole night there. Because at that point, now not only do you go down looking like a stupid asshole, but now you go down as a stupid lying asshole as well. And their audience of like, I don't know, lobotomized 12-year-olds or whatever's watching it, they now know that they can't trust anything they do going forward. So even if they somehow do escape the prison time, which I imagine they will, I don't think they're actually gonna spend 7 years in jail, they've lost the trust of their audience now.
The couple was released on a $25,000 unsecured bond, and they're due back in court March 24th. Fisher told a reporter outside of court that she has no regrets, that they were living their life and having fun. But the couple said they would not be doing another stunt like this again. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Mara Montalbano.
I can't imagine that statement's gonna help them very much in the court proceedings. Yeah, I have no regrets about committing the crime. Surely that won't come back to haunt them. But yeah, anyway, just thought the story was kind of wild and another prime example of the attention-seeking disease a lot of people are afflicted with. That's about it. So yeah. On the surface, it seems like Batman and I have nothing in common, but nothing could be further from the truth. There is one thing we share, and that is an obsession. Batman is obsessed with justice. I'm obsessed with goofiness. Wherever there is goofiness, I will be there. I'm drawn to it like flies to a porta potty. I can't help myself. If I was one of the founding fathers of the United States of America, the unalienable rights talked about in the Declaration of Independence would have referred to life, liberty, and the pursuit of goofiness. Now, why am I mentioning this? Well, because I have one hell of a story to share with you today that I'm sure all of you are already aware of because it's been memed to death. But I haven't talked about it. And you know what? That just doesn't sit right with me anymore. So let's talk about the massive police scandal that's gone on this week in Tennessee, where 5 officers were fired after it was revealed that it was basically just a fucking porno set at the department. It came out that at least 5 male officers were engaging in sexual relations with a female officer whom is married, by the way. They were sending dick pics, taint pics, butthole pics, whatever, all kinds of photos of their genitals, and having sex at the police station on duty, and having girls gone wild type parties. This sounds more like a frat house out of an American Pie movie than it does a department that's supposed to protect and serve the community. The only thing that was being protected was their penises. Maybe. They probably weren't even using condoms. No jimmies. It was probably raw dog. But what they were serving was spaghetti and meatballs. Hold the spaghetti, just the meatballs, as they were clapping against the cheeks of Officer Megan, whom engaged in many sexual encounters at the department while having a husband. Obviously, that's a pretty horrible thing to do. And it's also very weird that it went on for so long. Just a very weird situation overall. But before I get too deep, there's something else that I think's a little weird. And that's people who don't drink G Fuel. More specifically, they don't drink Divine Peach G Fuel. The most delectable flavor to ever exist. This, I'm pointing in the wrong direction. There we go. Yeah, Divine Peach is the best flavored beverage of all time. It is a fantastic, beautiful energy drink, and there's also a new one right around the corner that you can pre-order now. It's actually a Gundam collab with G Fuel. So they have a new flavor called MS-M3010N. It's a Gundam style flavor, and it is also very, very good. So use code MOIST for 20% off the collector's box for the new Gundam flavor, or code MOIST for 30% off all G Fuel products. You can also click the link in the description below. Now, back to the topic here. This is a pretty fucked up situation. This is why you've probably been seeing her photo on every single meme or piece of content that refers even lightly to cheating. It's because of this story. There's a lot to unpack here, such as like hot tub parties, which a lot of sex, clearly. But one hotspot was actually at the police department's own gym, where a lot of oral sex seemed to be happening there. So I guess this gym membership came with a happy ending. It sounds like more dick was getting sucked at this gym than at the casting couch. Now, like most people with a soul, when I read this story, my heart broke for the husband in this situation, because not only has he been getting cheated on for such a long time, he got cheated on to such a ridiculous degree that it cost his wife her job, which is obviously a big blow to the household income. But buckle your seatbelts, because this is where the ride gets a little bumpy and very interesting. After all this news broke and the husband found out, he made a statement saying that he supports his wife and will stand by her as they work through this problem in their marriage. I'm not here to opine on that. Whatever makes you happiest, I suppose, but goddamn. Fucking jinkies. Zoinks, Scoob. I'm wishing their marriage the absolute best. I'm sure any day now she will be announcing her OnlyFans, and I'd wager a guess we might see some cameos, guest appearances from the old boys in blue down at the Tennessee. Tennessee police headquarters there that are now also out of a job. But anyway, yeah, just kind of wanted to go over this